Here you see a piece that would be part of a box or a small panel or something, a horizontal format, but with the S-scrolls running vertically this way across the board and mirroring each other left and right all the way across. When you isolate it down to just that one unit, it's the exact same thing I just carved a little bit ago, but now just employed in a different manner to get you a different design. So I'll show you how I do that. Cutting it isn't terribly different from what we just did, but laying it out and planning it a tiny bit different. I have marked out a board. It's a longer piece, but it's this board's 6 inches broad this way. So between the margins, I have 5 inches, I think. Yeah, just over. And I had set a left and right margin and fiddled with some spacing with the compass and found a spacing that will suit what I want and fit in there. So I walked that across this way and leaned on each leg as I went to make those marks. And now we'll just use a square to define these rectangles. And there's no hard and fast rules about proportions of these. You see them done lots of different ways. As it happens, this is 2 inches, so 2 inches by 5. But they could just as well be wider. I think in the drawings there's a wider example, and all that happens then is you have a little more room, so you get another leaf in there. And just like before, I'll take that broad gouge that's like a number 7 and chop all the corners off of these rectangles. I won't necessarily carve this whole box side, but enough of it to get you an idea. But here you see how you gang up those cuts to stay in one position and do the whole string of them. And this is a piece of quarter sawn red oak. So all those cuts are made, and then you tilt the gouge down just like before. And I'm going to need to rejig to grab this board. But start to chop those on. You'll see these coming this way. And then going the other way. And the last bit. Can't see a thing when I do it like that, can you? That's all those outlines. Now comes the circles. Those small circles that are key to the S scroll are they're the major difference in standing up your S scrolls versus laying them down. So if you pick a corner, say this bottom right for me, and I use that small roundish gouge to do that, diagonally opposite within that rectangle is this one. Now the part that's new is that on the next rectangle it doesn't go diagonally opposite here from there, it goes right here. Because these two mirror each other. So that now the next one goes down here. And this is not difficult to mess up. It's very easy to get these in the wrong place. And then come up here. And I'll do one or two more. And same as before, I'm keeping space between that. Remember, this is going to come out, and I want that solid. If this cut is real close to here, this resulting band becomes weak. That'll go up here. Now the V-tool will work. And so at an end, 2 inches, the middle of its width is 1 inch, the middle of its height is 2.5, so that chalk mark is right about in the middle. And that's just to help me see where I'm going. I'm going to come from this circle to my left of that chalk mark. And from the margin to the right of it. And then reverse those, and this one that is, if you will, the outside comes around to the inside. Like that. This one sort of dies in that margin. Remember, they don't have to connect right there. So you can tick down the line, making your little chalk marks, give you that target. So this one is coming to here, and this one to there, and then what I would tend to do, I might as well show you, is do a bunch of them in that same direction. I instantly started to move over to turn around to do the other one. But if I were doing this for real, instead of for the camera, I'd go here. And all down that line, do all of those. Then turn around and do all of these. So that's enough to get us started. From here, it's just as before. Just a matter of using the different gouges. Is this what I used? What I imagine I would use. It is. These are going to be matching pieces for a box. So just as before, strike the outline for that leaf. And you see I've got lots of variety in those shapes and sizes, but not enough to create a problem really. Now switching to that 3/4 inch wide number 7. And you can do it like this. Turn over here. I don't have that one ready yet. And now up to this one. And then, oh, no, I gotta get these. There. Now, the simple curve back into that V-tool line to get that central leaf. And there's the outline. And you can see in that sequence a couple of times I faked myself out and said, oh, I missed a piece, and had to go back and get it. But that's how you get the basic cuts, and then comes the background. And the background is the same as before. It's that narrow 1/2 inch wide number 5. And I'll do it in this case with hand pressure. It's such a small panel. There's not a lot of room, and I tend to do all the cuts heading that way that I can get at. Just go like this instead. So to get at that, I'm pushing the tool in and then rocking it left and right so that curved end to the tool meets the curve of that first incised cut. See that rocking motion? And sometimes you're sliding the tool, so moving the handle left and right to do that. I haven't done the circles, I'll do those separately. Oops, forgot these. See what I mean? Come way out over there. Now I've got to come from up here to get at the bottom hemisphere here. And you could leave the background just like that. Here, I have a little fiber that's sort of torn up and it's on the surface. And when that happens, I take the gouge and just press down with the bevel just to try to burnish that back down. So these cuts I've made, it was two cuts, one headed right here and then one headed down to the top of this leaf, and that leaves that little ridge and that V-tool line there. And I'll just slide in to take that out as well. And it's pretty tight quarters in a little one like this, so you won't necessarily get it all. Like that. Like that. You can come back down from the north. A bigger panel, you'd have more room to get in there. I don't want to switch to a tiny little tool to go picking away at this thing. I've often told students in workshops before, this isn't dentistry. You know, we're just going to cut some wood here to get some decoration. Nothing to stress about too much. These circles, I use mallet to get the bulk of them out. And then kind of flick the tool a little bit. So you're really splitting wood there. It's been scored all around. So like tiddlywinks almost, if anybody remembers tiddlywinks. Now I'll just use the corner of the tool and lever the handle left and right to clean up that bit. So here I'm going to turn the handle that way to come around with that corner of the tool. Right like that. the reverse to do the underside. And a little bit right there. And right there. So now, oh, that's all torn up. Those fibers didn't get cut clean enough in the first strike. Now I go back to the tools that form the leaves to cut out the little shadow like that. And then do the same thing with the number 7. And come around here to get this set. You could switch hands to do this too. A little harder to do. And as you have seen by watching me, I have to stop and check, oh, did I get those all? So that's the step. I'm looking to make sure there's a shadow everywhere there needs to be. Now comes those 3 leaves, those 3 veins that fan out in that central leaf. Left and right. And north and south. So different grips for the same cut. Here, I don't know if this is going to show, I've got my arm tucked against my body. The handle held, the tool held somewhere about its middle like that. And earlier I had my fingers down on the piece of wood, my fingertips, pinching the tool between my fingers and thumb, standing it that way. But again, with my arm sort of tucked against my body to stabilize things. And there's that visual check again. So they're all there. So now, just hand pressure to take these out. Every other one leaves a shadow. Switch hands. Watch where you're going. And now the top sides. Oh, I forgot this set. Way over here. And the last set here. Those two didn't let go. There they are. Sometimes you need to get in and rock your tool this way and that to get them to let go. A little V-tool line in that in that leaf right here. Where am I going to get it? I'm going to get it here. Those kinds of V-tool lines can be really effective. They can taper in their width and depth. So you start out pretty shallow and then tilt the handle to get an increase in depth. And that gives you a line of tapering width. See, I'm breaking it up into the curve going in two directions here, just because I can't quite get at this small one this way. A little too much of a contortion to do so. So now I pick up behind the end of that to maintain its width here at the juncture. So in the end, you can hardly see that it's an interrupted cut. And the punch. That nail set that I use. And I usually put one halfway up that line. Sometimes more than one. Depends on the scale of things. But that gives you the notion of how to do those S-scrolls, what I call standing up like that.